Hey everyone, it's Eric from MAPerformance.com. Today's video we're going to show you how to properly lower your 2015 Ecoboost Mustang by installing Eibach's Pro-Kit lowering springs. We're also going to be installing Juggernaut camber plates, which we recommend if you plan to lower your car and want to keep your alignment in spec. If you found this video and don't have a set of Eibach springs, a link to the product can be found in the description below or in the upper right hand corner of this video. A link to the Juggernaut camber plates can also be found in the description. Before we install these lowering springs, we are going to give you a few reasons why most people install lowering springs in their cars, and discuss some of the potential side effects as well. A lower car means a lower center of gravity. This kit will lower our 2015 Ford Mustang about an inch all around. A lower center of gravity means you can stop faster and corner better. This specific kit is designed by Eibach to be great for daily driven car owners looking for improved performance and more aggressive appearance. With lowering springs, it would be a great idea to also get a set of camber plates. After lowering your Mustang, you need a front-end alignment. Without camber plates, you won't be able to get your camber or caster back within the factory specifications. Having a proper alignment performed after your lowering spring install will improve your steering response and keep your car as straight as an arrow on the street or the strip. Yes, your car will be lower to the ground. If you live in an area with terrible road conditions or have a large curb you need to drive over daily, be aware, you might begin to scrape more often. You also might want to consider the ride quality. Lowering springs are generally going to provide a slightly more aggressive spring rate, which can translate to a stiffer, more sport-like ride. But let's get into the install. Here's a list of tools you will need: 15, 18, 21, and 24mm sockets, a 17mm wrench, pry bar, a knife or saw, and a spring compressor. We started at the rear. Lift the car and take off the wheels. Set a jack stand underneath the control arm to secure during removal. Remove the stabilizer bar link. Remove the outer tow arm bolt from the assembly. This might take a little prying. Remove the front outer control arm bolt. Remove the rear outer control arm bolt. Remove the two bolts from the bottom strut assembly. Lower the jack stand holding up the assembly. Remove the bolt for the inner rear control arm. Pry the spindle assembly up out of the spring assembly to get it loose. Lift the spring and pull it out. You will reuse the rubber spring seat. Make sure it's in good condition and set it aside. Remove the two bolts holding the shock in place. Remove the top rubber mount cover and remove the top nut. Slide the cover off and remove the dust cover and bump stop. Next, we have to cut down the bump stop. The kit comes with a set, but we found they don't fit very well. Cut the bottom section off with a knife or saw. Slide it back into place. Replace the cover and tighten. Slide it back into place and tighten the two bolts. Make sure the rubber spring perch sits perfectly on the new spring in both locations. Put the spring in place. We used our jack stand again for support. Place the inner control arm bolt into the subframe. Do the same for the front outer control arm bolt and tighten down fully. Again for the rear control arm bolt. Two bolts for the lower strut mount. Next up is the outer tow arm bolt. We had an issue getting this one to line up properly, so we made a mark on the eccentric washer and the subframe and loosened it. This allowed us to get the outer tow arm bolt lined up properly. Tighten the bolt snug, realign the eccentric mark, and tighten. Tighten the sway bar end link back on, and then repeat those steps for the other rear spring. Next, onto the removal of the front springs. We had to remove the brake caliper for the front. Remove the two caliper bolts on the back. Remove the caliper and hang it safely out of the way. We used a bungee cord. Remove the ABS sensor wire harness by disconnecting the two retainers. Remove the two bolts in the steering knuckle. Carefully pound these out with a hammer, leaving them partially in place. Place the 17mm wrench behind the end link to prevent from spinning, and remove the stabilizer bar link. Up top, remove the three upper strut mount nuts. Hold the strut from below so it doesn't fall. Slide the two knuckle bolts out the rest of the way, and repeat for the other front spring. To replace the front springs, you'll need a spring compressor. Compress the spring and remove the top nut. Pull the assembly apart The kit comes with new dust boots and bump stops. Put the dust boot on, then the new spring. This is where the camber plates come into play. If you don't have one, just reuse the stock plate. We are going to put on our Juggernaut caster camber plates. Reuse the top rubber spring mount and compress the spring. Place the camber plate or stock plate back on and tighten the nut. Put the assembly back into position and hand tighten the top strut nuts to secure. Slide the 2 bolts back into the knuckle and pound them into place, then tighten the nuts back on. Reconnect the stabilizer bar link. Replace the brake disc and caliper. Tighten the 2 bolts holding it in place on the back. Reconnect the ABS sensor wire harness. Moving back up top, tighten the 3 top strut nuts. If you have any camber plates, they came with new nuts and washers. And then repeat for the other front spring. Put the wheels back on and lower it down. That finishes up our install on these Eibach lowering springs for the 2015 Ecoboost Mustang. We hope you enjoy your new, lower, and more aggressive stance. Before you hit the road, be sure to like the video. Let us know how the install went in the comments, or if you have any questions, let us know below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for many more installs, unboxings, and tons more cool stuff. And visit www.MAPerformance.com to grab your own Eibach springs today.